Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today, I'm not gonna lie, I basically made a video yesterday on Itaro's Terrorblade gameplay, and I said that he was, a huge reason why Team Spirit won, right? Absolutely, it's a team game. Everyone plays a big part. Now, not in surprising fashion, people got very mad that I was hyping up Itaro, and I think the title was something along the lines that Itaro made PSG LGD look like bots, instead of highlighting Collapse. Now, throughout the entirety of the tournament, everyone was just going crazy about Collapse. And honestly, I wanted to do a little bit more in-depth research. I wanted to watch a game from start to finish from Collapse's perspective, because you never get that when you're watching TI. Most of people's opinions on players are formed from highlights and what casters are generally saying, and that's not terrible. It's somewhat reasonable. But at the same time, I want to show today why I was actually shocked by this game. This is game 2 between Team Spirit and LGD, and Collapse most definitely popped off. By the way guys, if you want to become absolutely broken, well, what you need to do is sign up to the GameLeap website down below right now. The reason why you should do that is because every single day we post a new video there. Content that you simply just will never get on YouTube, we post every single day to the website. It's really top tier stuff. I'm very proud of what I make over there. We also have other creators, many of my great friends who are top tier Dota players, creating guides about different heroes, different roles, different items, skill builds, talent builds, everything you need to know to get to the next rank. So if you feel a little bit lost, you're a little bit stuck, click the link down below. I'll see you guys there. And now let's get into the video. Okay, so I have a couple of main points for the laning stage. The main thing I want to talk about is the team fights and of course his skewer usage as well as his horn toss usage, but also his laning stage is honestly one of the best I've seen from an offlane player. And the reason why I think this is something I really want to talk about is because a lot of offlane players struggle to have really high CS. They struggle to focus on anything besides killing. However, what I really think is most impressive about his Magnus gameplay and what he abuses about this hero is the high damage. You can see right here, even though they aren't directly pressuring the Morphling, 19-5 against 23-4, while it's even, is still an incredibly good score against against Ame and against a Morphling. So he's really just doing a fantastic job getting last hits. Being number 4 on the list is super solid against IO Morphling. IO is also a hard hero to last hit against, because typically what IO does is he tethers to his carry and then basically walks around with the carry and denies with him for the early levels. So yeah, that was the first thing I want to mention. The second thing I want to mention is an adaptation going to the back half of this lane. What I mean by the back half of the lane is 5 to 10 minutes, right? From this 5 to 10 minute period, Morphling starts to become good against Magnus, because Magnus can never burst Morphling, so we never can really pressure Morphling. You can't chip Morphling down in any useful way. As a result, Morphling uses his high base damage to basically auto-attack you. Your hero has no sustain and mediocre armor. So what does he do? What does Collapse do? He cuts the wave. Really well done. And it's something that people don't see about these pro players. They identify the matchups, they think about the matchups, and they adjust. You wouldn't do this in every matchup. For instance, maybe if he's against a Phantom Assassin and the lane is going quite well and he had a 10 stick or a 20 wand, he would stay in the lane and potentially try to bully her out. But instead, understanding the Morphling matchup, he completely avoids him and starts to amplify his farm by dragging waves to camps. Why mechanism? Why did Collapse go mech? And why did many Magnuses go Helm Dom in this tournament? This is the next thing I want to talk about. And basically the main reason for it is because what most Magnuses do wrong is they rush a Blink Dagger. Now, there are games to rush Blink Dagger. Sometimes your team just has a poop ton of playmakers. It's not a farm-oriented team comp, and you can literally just walk around the map, blink skewering people, and blink RP and getting kills. But for the most part, if you look at your skill build, rushing a Blink Dagger doesn't align with the skill build or even the mana boots whatsoever. Does that make sense, guys? In Dota, if your items and skill build doesn't align, you're gonna have problems. And that is why going a sustain item that makes you hard to bully out of lane is generally almost always going to be better than rushing a blink. It's going to let you hit later timings. I'm sure you guys are also familiar with Magnus's talents. He has some of the best talents into the game. At level 10, he has 10-second empower duration, which is insane. That is ridiculously long. Then, at level 15, he has skewer cooldown. At level 20, he has skewer range. These are some of the best talents in Dota. So if you play a sacrificial Magnus, while sometimes you might have to, especially if you mess up your lane, which is on you, if you mess up your lane, then you're gonna miss out on these talents. You're also probably gonna miss out on an early shard timing because you're gonna be under farm. And so yeah, basically the mech is less of a team fighting item than you think, even though it's good for that. It's a lot more just to make sure that you can lane and farm. All right, let's get into our first major team fight of the game. I know that's why you guys are here. You just want to see some freaking skewers, but all right, let's get into it. So this is previous to the horn toss timing. I would like to talk about this example because it what Collapse is so good at is being able to adapt his skewers to the situation. I mean, every good Magnus player, like top tier Magnus player, has to be able to do this, but he was particularly consistent about it this tournament. It was ridiculous. And this first example and first team fight is beautiful. So starting it off, he has to wait for his blink dagger. He blinked over to here. So essentially what he wants to do is take the shortest path towards the enemy team that also keeps him out of vision. So that's why this Quelling Blade, even though I know it's small, is actually a really big deal. This Quelling Blade usage actually lets him basically win this fight for his team. As a result of it, he's able to close the gap really quickly here, gets a beautiful shockwave into skewer. The reason why you wouldn't want to skewer here first is Leshrac is a very fast hero, and Leshrac was practically out of blink range, at least blink skewer range, so this is a really timely mix-up from Collapse here that allows him to get the shockwave into skewer play. Fortunately, the Fisher came out just a little bit too late, and as a result, they're able to get the classic Team Spirit combo, the skewer into the grip. The amount of times they did this tournament was insane. Continuing out onto the fight, I want to know what he does next. It's wait. Do not shockwave skewer or horn toss skewer, and then when your blink dagger's on cooldown, run in and try to RP. It does not work. Occasionally, in your low to average MMR pups, maybe you'll be able to do it because of people's bad positioning. But in general, just have patience, Because of his patience here, he's able to kite on the outside of the fight, does a pretty good job staying here, right? Because if he was here, they could initiate on him in a very useful way. They could potentially echo, right? They could even just hit him with IO balls to cancel his blink. There's a lot of different things they could do to mess with his blink dagger and his ability to RP. But his patience here is really good. Waits for the fear to come out, waits for his blink dagger to come back up, and just before the auto attack cancels his blink, gets it off, 2-man RP, easy fight. Super well done. Next up, let's watch him get a kill onto the Morphling with the use of the Horn Toss. So the main thing I'd like to note about Horn Toss is that it's very important to consider two things when you're skewering people. Number one, is your team behind you? And number two, is it an easy to burst target? If it's an easy to burst target like an IO, which they just killed before, then you don't necessarily need direct follow-up. You can just kill them with the help of something like a Luna. However, many times throughout this tournament, and even in this replay, he's gonna do Horn Toss into skewer into another disable. The reason why this is important is obviously if you don't have to, you do not want to use RP after your skewer, and when you do use RP after skewer, most disables can actually come out, or mobility spells can come out before the RP. You can Manta, you can largely Waveform, you can Orchid, you can BKB. There's a lot of reasons why you want a follow-up stun that is instant after the skewer. And so in this clip here, as I like to say, the Team Spirit combo, right? Horn Toss into skewer. They even went for the Willow Fear here, a little bit of a miscommunication for sure, but all in all, they just burst him down. And obviously, if they didn't go on a Morphling, if they went on someone else, maybe like a Nature's Prophet, they wouldn't have to expend the grip. Unless you had BKB, then maybe you'd still want to. All right, next up, we're gonna play a quick clip on why a Horn Toss is absolutely gonna get nerfed. I mean, the problem with the spell is not even what it does, you know, because Shockwave does something similar. You can still technically skewer without it. It's just like, it's just too easy. That's what it is. It's too easy. It's just easy mode. Like, if you look at this clip here, there's no way this should hit the Shaker. I think what they're going to do with Horn Toss is not remove it, but just like severely limit the range in which it works, because like, there's no way that should hit that guy. He is so far away from the middle of the Horn Toss there. But yeah, it just doesn't matter. And that's a really cool combo, the coil into the skewer. Really well done. Quick kill into Xingqiu. And when you're going high ground, those are actually the best pickoffs because Xingqiu is the Fisher. That is the spell that potentially would cancel the skewer after the Horn Toss. So that's pretty important to note. And any quick kill that doesn't cause your team to have to overcommit is really big. So when you're going high ground, I actually recommend fishing for those kills the most. They're going to be the safest kills in pubs. Obviously, if your team is coordinated enough to grip or stun a carry after your skewer and you can burst them, that's even better. Next up is my favorite part of Collapse's gameplay, which I just couldn't understand why more players didn't incorporate. I'm sure they will now, but that's the Aether Lens. Funny enough, he also just bought the tome. Yes, he bought the tome. At minute 32, he purchased it to get the skewer range. When you get skewer range with Aether, it almost covers the entire screen. It is so dumb. But let's talk about why this Aether lens is so important. You might be like, Speed, I know why it's important. It's the skewer range. Actually, in my opinion, it's a lot more about the blink dagger range. In fact, I almost want to say the reason why he buys it, if you were to ask him, would be almost all about the blink dagger range. All right, let's get into our first example of the Aether lens blink range. Now, you can clearly see in this clip he probably didn't need it, but the big thing to consider about Magnus when you're going this build, especially against good players, is they're going to be watching you, okay? Look at his items. If he is the Horn Toss Skewer, can they stop it? Yes. They have Shaker, and they have a Furion Orchid, which means they can easily prevent him from skewering after the Horn Toss. As a result, if he is in vision when he goes for the combo, he will be disabled, and he'll get caught. And that is obviously the furthest thing from what you want. And so in this clip here, you can see he has a lot of patience. He doesn't immediately initiate. He waits for his team's TPs to complete. Then when the time comes, he does a max range blink, Horn Toss, Skewer. Even in this clip, I actually think he shouldn't have done the Horn Toss. I think he should have just skewered, just to give less of a gap for the enemy team to be able to react. But nonetheless, beautifully done. Oh my god, the range on Skewer. He brought, oh my god. He brought up from the freaking racks, basically to his fountain. It's just ridiculous. Getting to this next fight, honestly, this is just a sick engagement. Like, the awareness to make this play is just, in my opinion, ridiculous. I don't think almost anyone would make this play. Nonetheless, fight breaks out. In team fights, you generally have to have a lot of patience. Your build is obviously designed around skewering, and like in team fights, it's not very easy to do that, right? Especially when the team fight is like immediate. The biggest advantage of Magnus that you guys should be looking for in your pubs is trying to like start a fight with a pickoff, right? That's the main advantage. However, if that doesn't happen, you often need to have a lot of patience, and you want to look for an RP that isolates a core. You don't need to get like a multi-man RP. It's honestly a thing of the past. Just being able to solo RP any sort of high-value target and instantly kill them, especially through a BKB, is massive. But in this fight, look at this play. This is insane. What he does is he walks up to the Morphling who's currently Ags coiled, and knowing that he's Ags coiled and BKB'd, what he does is reverse RPs. If you don't know how to do this, basically while you're casting RP, if you right-click behind yourself, you can turn around during the animation. This causes you to be able to basically RP people in the direction that you want, and that snaps the coil, which is really cool. And as a result, the Morphling in his BKB gets stunned, and you can imagine that this sets up for a follow-up grip and wins them the fight. Alright, and to end off the video, let's take a look at one more team fight. Once again, shout out to Team Spirit, congratulations on the TI win, but this fight was just insane. Everything about it was just so cool. So he goes in, basically here you can tell that this is a very psycho play, okay? This is like generally not what you want to do, which is chase with Skewer. It's very risky. However, the only time you will do it is when you have Horn Toss or RP up and your team is in severe advantage. Obviously with Morphling dying here and having no buyback, they feel like this 4v5 is enough, or at least he feels like the 4v5 is enough of an advantage to chase, and that's exactly what he does. Now, as a result of this Force Staff, he's able to get out, which is why I love this item build so much. The Force Staff is a really nice bailout. I talked about it earlier. If you get caught by an instant disable, especially when you're skewering in or horn tossing, having the Force Staff lets you get out of those bad situations. He also has Spider Legs, which is key, but a double Force Staff keeps him alive. One Force Staff from him, one from his teammate. After that, he's going to be able to kite around to the outside. Doesn't particularly skewer the Lesh, which I like. Lesh is already feared in a root, no need to skewer him. Instead, he goes for a Shaker, which is a beautifully kill for them here, as that's obviously going to be their re-engage later on. Gets Nightmare saved, which is so nice by Mapushka. Kites to the outside of the fight. AFK steals the kill on Faith Beyond. Kites to the outside. Finds another Horn Toss after the Shockwave onto the Shaker. Gets Force Staffed again by his teammate. Holy, the kiting here is ridiculous. And of course, to end off the fight, a Skewer to snap the coil, demoralizing LGD. My god. Whew. All right. Nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm out. Peace.
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace.